Monday greetings to you all and welcome to this week's first edition of Primetime News. I'm Michael Madimba. We commence the bulletin with the Chinatown saga. Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters leaders Epaphras Mukwelongo, Michael Amshelelo, affirmative repositioning activist Dimbulukeni Nauyoma, together with some of their members who attempted to shut down and burn Chinatown last Friday, appeared in the Katutura Magistrates Court earlier today. At the time of airing, the court proceedings were still in session. However, the Namibia press agencies Selima Chimwefeleni Masipa and Lydia Petiri managed to interview leader of the opposition, Mark-Henry Venani, and affirmative repositioning leader Joba Mpanda, and these were their sentiments.
The question of Namra, there is a serious question of insensitivity. It's insensitive to poor Namibians that are making ends meet, insensitive to young people that are trying to do something with it. We are not saying there must be lawlessness, but when we are applying the law, we must do so looking at economic considerations. That's why PDM is in support of the argument saying there shouldn't be double standards when you are dealing with counterfeit products. If counterfeit is bad and needs to be banned, then ban all. Don't ban some and leave others. And what we are saying is that why can't we apply the law judiciously, making sure that we leave economic benefit to our people. It's all about bread and butter. The reason why people are toying here, it's an economic issue. People are suffering in this country. And if you are in agreement that people are suffering, you can't just implement law. Because if people are not suffering, we should have banned the ivory. Why don't we ban the 2 billion? Because it's money that we can ban. But we are saying don't ban because our country is suffering. We don't have infrastructure, we don't have schools. Now you are banning people's stuff that are trying to economically make ends meet. So what we are saying is let's strike a balance, and the balance is necessary.
We must ask ourselves, and the question that we must ask ourselves is, what is the context under which these activities are taking place? That's a context of poverty, is a context of unemployment, is a context of inequality, is a context of unfair treatment that our people are facing. The economy is hard, things are difficult, and many young men and women are trying to find a living. So any caring and responsible leader would not want to suffocate the people. Okay? That's exactly what the problem that we're having is, that you have an uncaring government, you have a government that just want to apparently implement the laws. So we always hear these stories about implementing the law.
On to our next story. Political analyst Professor Joseph Tisho has cautioned government to abandon what he described as arrogance and mismanagement of resources to prevent a revolution. Sawi Siku compiled this report.
Tisho's remarks comes after a protest against business practices in Windhoek Chinatown by the Namibian Economic Freedom Fighters members, which led to the arrest of its leaders. Tisho told Nampa, what is being witnessed in Windhoek at the moment is something that was bound to happen for a number of reasons. He said that government in recent years has seceded from the people and became dismissive of the people's genuine concerns. He added that it has also become the protector of those in power and increasingly unresponsive to the electorate, such that it is expected that more and more people are disaffected.
Now, on to an unfortunate incident. A 23-year-old male security guard who succumbed to a gunshot wound sustained in a shooting incident at the Cheetah Cement factory on Friday last week was identified today by his close relatives as Jose Albano Samba. Our Otjozondjupa correspondent Mulisa Simiasa filed the story.
Namibian Police Force spokesperson in the Otjozondjupa region, Inspector Maureen Beha, in an interview with the Namibia Press Agency today, said that a 31-year-old male suspect, who happens to have been a colleague of the deceased, was arrested in the matter. Beha said the deceased was shot once in the stomach, allegedly by his colleague, and both worked for Amon Security Services, a private company contracted to guard at the cement factory. Beha added that police's preliminary investigations indicate that Samba was knocking off at around 1800 hours on Friday, and shortly after he handed over the guarding shift to the suspect, a gunshot sound was heard inside their duty room at the main gate of the factory. The deceased was taken to the Otjiwarongo State Hospital, from where he was transferred to Windhoek for further medical attention. Beha stated while on the way to Windhoek, Samba died in an ambulance. The suspect will appear in the Otjiwarongo Magistrates Court on Tuesday. Police investigations in the matter continue.
On to continental news. Somalia is proceeding to the third and final round of voting for the election of the nation's 10th president after the previous 2 rounds of voting by lawmakers failed to elect a new president. Let's get more details from Xinhua.
4 presidential candidates, including Puntland State President Said Deni, incumbent President Mohamed Farmajo, former President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, and former Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khayre, contested in the second round of voting after the first round ended without any candidate garnering 2/3 of the votes cast, or 219 votes required to win the polls on Sunday. The Joint Committee organizing the exercise said former President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, who garnered 110 votes, and incumbent President Mohamed Farmajo, who secured 83 votes, will now proceed to the third and final round of voting. The winner in the final round of voting will have to get a simple majority. The 54-member Senate, or Upper House, and the 274 members of the Lower House of Parliament are casting votes by secret ballot in the presidential poll. The presidential elections, which is 15 months behind schedule due to COVID-19, severe drought, insecurity, Somali leaders, comes after Somalia concluded parliamentary elections in April.
When we return, Namibia and European Union launch twinning project to boost trade. In our primetime Biz segment, we begin at home. A European Union twinning project to boost Namibia's international trade was officially launched by the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade recently. Sawi Hausiku compiled this insert.
The project, titled Providing Support to the Namibian Standards Institution, is aimed at boosting the institution's capacity to carry out its mandate and increase Namibia's involvement in international trade. In a statement issued on Sunday, Minister of Industrialization and Trade, Lucia Ipumbu, applauded all stakeholders involved as this is the first step in achieving the revised national quality policy, of 2020 to 2025 by ensuring that all local manufactured products are in line with international standards. This is the first EU twinning project in sub-Saharan Africa, jointly implemented by the consortium of 8 German and Swedish institutes with experience in trade policy and technical regulation. The 8 institutes are also experienced in food safety, standardization, accreditation, metrology, and conformity assessment. On her part, EU Ambassador to Namibia, Sinika Antela, narrated how twinning is a special concept by the EU to enhance institutional collaboration between policy sector expertise of the EU member states and partner nations. The twinning project is part of the Economic Partnership Agreement implementation plan for Namibia and is supported to the tune of 27 million Namibian dollars.
Now, a local energy analyst says several critical reforms in policies and legislation are needed in the oil and gas industry to enable local participation in the sector and reap maximum returns from the country's resources. Let's get more insight from this report compiled by Edward Mumbu Jr.
This is according to energy expert Uwapiwa Shavari during a recent interview with the Namibia Press Agency after an information sharing seminar on Namibia's oil and gas industry, which covered a range of issues including the ownership of oil, loopholes in the mining sector, and structural reforms needed to address shortcomings. Uwashavari said the policy should accommodate Namibians to participate in the oil and gas industry so that one day we can be like the Nigerians and have a full company owned by Namibians running the oil business. At present, Namibians' participation in the industry is at the mercy of operators who have no legal obligation to include locals in their operations. He explained that even now, NAMCO's percentage is not in the law and sometimes they get 10%, 7% or 15%, adding that it is not fixed and it depends on how tough they are negotiating, so if they put it in the law, it will be better for them. Uwashavari stressed that Namibians and foreign investors must start on an equal footing. In a dossier by the Namibia Petroleum Operations Association that was presented at the same seminar, its vice chairperson, Bridget Venner, seemingly agrees with Washavari that the government is entitled to receive an unspecified share of any successful project once production has started. Since independence, foreign investors have pumped around 30 billion Namibian dollars into oil exploration activities.
The sports news is up next, but first, the economics roundup and the weather forecast. Still golfing headline Sport Planet. Mobile Telecommunications Limited MTC recently launched its Women in Golf program, as well as announced its 3-year partnership with the Windhoek Golf Club. The Women in Golf program aims to empower women in the sport of golf and promote their participation in the sport. Speaking during the launch, MTC's Chief Legal Compliance and Risk Officer Patience Canalelo said the sport of golf is traditionally known as a male sport, and this program is therefore a powerful driver in encouraging inclusive participation in terms of gender representation. Moving on to the English Premier League. Everton are helping police after Brentford's Rico Henry and Ivan Toney claim members of their families were racially abused during the Premier League match at Everton. DPA brings us the story.
Henry, who scored the winning goal in Sunday's thrilling 3-2 victory at Goodison Park, took to social media after the game to call for the incident to be investigated. He wrote on Twitter, "I never usually speak out on things that don't physically harm me or my family, but to see my mom upset after being racially abused by a few Everton fans brought fire to my stomach. I will do anything for them and whatever it takes to get the small minority punished. This is not acceptable and must be investigated immediately." After tweeting about the fireworks reportedly let off outside the Brentford team hotel, Toney added, "And for the man that racially abused my family, I'll do everything I can to get you the punishment you deserve." Everton responded to Toney's post with a tweet which read, "There is no place in football or society for racism. We are assisting Merseyside Police to ensure the individual is identified and dealt with appropriately." Merseyside Police confirmed late on Sunday night an investigation has been opened.
Your sports roundup is up next. That's all the news we had for you this evening. Thanks for watching. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, share and hit the notifications bell to stay posted on the latest happenings locally and globally. Feel free to interact with us in the comment section. Catch us tomorrow for another edition of Primetime News. From myself, Michael Madimba, and the entire production crew, it's good night.